Mark pushed the heavy mop bucket across the shiny floors of the intergalactic trade tower, the sound of wheels clattering echoing in the quiet hallways. The bright lights above reflected on the polished metal panels, making everything look almost too clean for a building so busy during the day. But at night, it was different. Silent, empty, with only a few security droids patrolling the corridors. Mark liked this time. It gave him a chance to think without being rushed, to breathe without constant orders. He was a single dad, raising his 8-year-old daughter alone since his wife had passed years ago. Life had been hard, but Mark had learned to keep going. He worked nights cleaning the tower so he could be home in the mornings for his daughter. Every mop, every sweep, every corner he cleaned reminded him why he worked so hard. For her, for the little moments of peace they shared. As he wiped the floor near the main elevator, he noticed a group of executives arriving late, their alien forms strange to human eyes, some with long limbs, others with glowing eyes. One particularly tall alien scowled at the floor, clearly impatient. Mark stepped aside, holding his mop, like a shield, hoping not to be noticed. But as he did, a small slip of water on the floor caused him to stumble. The mop bucket tipped slightly, and a little water spilled. The tall alien hissed, "Watch yourself, human," in a tone sharp enough to send chills down Mark's spine. Mark froze, heart racing. The words were strange. Not any language he had ever learned, not anything humans used. But somehow, he understood. He whispered under his breath, repeating the words, and it made sense. His mind remembered the secret lessons he had taken as a boy from a mysterious neighbor who had taught him alien tongues. It had been years since he last spoke it, but now the words came back like a flowing river. Curious, he stayed still as the alien continued muttering complaints about delays and staff incompetence. Mark could hear the frustration, the urgency, the exact meaning behind every word. He felt a strange excitement. This knowledge was powerful. A human janitor understanding an alien executive. This was impossible for anyone else. Suddenly, the elevator dinged, opening its doors with a metallic hiss. And there stood more executives, moving quickly, talking fast in a language Mark now understood fully. They discussed shipments, taxes, interstellar tariffs, and trade disputes. Things no human should ever know so quickly. But Mark understood every word, every nuance, every subtle threat hidden in polite conversation. Mark felt his hands tighten around the mop handle. He should just keep cleaning, keep invisible. But something inside him wanted to help. He wanted to show that humans could do more than just sweep floors. He could solve problems. He could connect with these beings if only given the chance. The tall alien executive turned suddenly, eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. "You, human, do you understand what I just said?" Mark's heart skipped a beat. His chance had come unexpectedly. And without thinking, he nodded, speaking back in flawless alien, his voice steady despite the pounding of his heart. "Yes, I understand. You need the cargo moved to docking bay 7 before the shift ends." Silence fell. The other aliens turned their heads, staring at him as if seeing a ghost. The tall executive froze, jaws dropping, and then, with a voice low and filled with surprise, "A human speaks fluent alien?" Mark's eyes widened. He had expected shock, maybe disbelief, but not this level of astonishment. I can help," he said carefully, trying not to appear arrogant. "I can make sure everything is done correctly." Whispers started spreading among the executives, some looking at each other with confusion, others with curiosity. No one had ever imagined a human could have this knowledge. The atmosphere changed from irritation to intrigue. The power of his words filled the empty hallway, and for a moment Mark forgot he was just a janitor. He was something more, something unexpected. Then the tall executive stepped closer, still glaring, yet with a hint of respect. "Very well, Inhuman. We will see if you are as capable as you say," he said, turning to his companions. "Prepare to be amazed." Mark swallowed, gripping his mop. Knowing that this night would be different from any other, he had entered the tower thinking it would be another long shift, cleaning floors, invisible, unnoticed. But now the entire building felt alive with possibilities. The strange language he had learned in secret was no longer just a memory. It was a key that might open doors no human had ever imagined. As he continued his cleaning, his mind raced with thoughts of what could come next. He knew this was only the beginning. Something extraordinary was about to happen, something that could change not just his life, but how humans were seen across the galaxy. The night shift had started like any other, but by the time the sun rose, nothing would ever be the same. Mark looked at the shimmering floors he was mopping, and for the first time he smiled. A janitor no more. A human about to show the galaxy what they were truly capable of. The night was still, but the energy in the intergalactic trade tower had shifted. Mark pushed his mop along the shiny corridor, every drop of water he cleaned reflecting the soft glow of the alien lights above. His heart was still racing from the encounter with the tall executive, the words he had spoken, the language he had used. It was no longer just a secret he had carried for years. It had become a weapon, a tool, something the galaxy might never expect a human to wield. He paused near the main control room, listening, curious. The other executives were moving quickly, speaking fast, discussing contracts, disputes, shipments, and diplomatic matters. Mark understood it all perfectly, not just the words, but the hidden meanings, the subtle threats veiled as polite suggestions, the urgent concerns wrapped in formal tones. He realized he was hearing what no other human had ever been allowed to hear. As he whispered softly under his breath, repeating the phrases, a memory struck him. Years ago, in a quiet neighborhood far from the skyscrapers of the city, a strange neighbor had taken him aside. "Learn their words, Mark," she had said, a soft glow in her alien eyes. "One day, it will save more than your life." He had been a boy then, eager to play, too curious for his age. But he had listened, he had learned, repeating strange sounds, practicing strange scripts that no one else understood. Now, in the middle of a galactic corporation, those years of secret learning were paying off. Mark's fingers tapped lightly on the mop handle, a sudden idea forming in his mind. He could help. He could bridge the gap between humans and aliens here, not just for work, but to prove that humans were more than they appeared. The executives in the room were skilled, powerful, but they lacked one thing: understanding of human ingenuity, and Mark had the secret knowledge to show it. Suddenly, a soft alarm chimed in the distance. A shipment delay had occurred on Docking Bay 9, an urgent problem, one that could escalate quickly if not addressed. Mark's mind raced, recalling the exact protocol and alien etiquette. The other humans on the floor would panic, not knowing what to say or how to fix the problem. But Mark could speak directly to the alien coordinators in their own tongue, guiding them step by step. He approached the control panel cautiously, keeping his mop balanced as he moved. The air was tense. He cleared his throat, and in fluent alien he called out, "Shift 9, reroute cargo to Section 3 immediately. Rerun security protocols on the loading bay." His voice was calm, precise, and carried authority, yet humble. The response came instantly. Aliens coordinating without hesitation, amazed that a human had given the instructions. From behind, he felt the tall executive watching, his glowing eyes wide, impressed, even skeptical. "Impossible," the executive muttered, voice low. "A human directing a shipment? And flawlessly?" Mark didn't answer aloud. He just kept moving, checking reports, updating schedules, correcting minor errors. Every task he completed reinforced a simple truth: the galaxy underestimated humans. As the shipment crisis was resolved, whispers spread across the floor. Staff and junior aliens turned to look at him, awe in their eyes. A quiet murmuring ran through the corridors. Who is he? How does he know the language? Mark kept cleaning, letting the work speak for itself. Humility in motion, yet a quiet pride swelling inside. Then the executive stepped forward, walking slowly, eyes locked on Mark. "Human, come here," he said, his voice a mixture of surprise and respect. Mark obeyed, stepping toward him, mop still in hand. A small crowd began to gather, their curiosity now impossible to contain. "Tell me," the executive said, "where did you learn our language?" No human could possibly. He stopped, realizing Mark's calm composure and flawless delivery contradicted everything he believed about human limits. Mark smiled faintly. "I learned it a long time ago," he said, "from someone who believed humans could do more than sweep floors. I've practiced in secret ever since." The executive paused, considering. "And you understand everything? All customs, all nuances?" Mark nodded. "Yes, I understand. I can communicate, negotiate, solve problems. Humans can adapt. We can learn, just like anyone else." Silence fell, broken only by the soft hum of the building. Then the executive laughed, a low sound of disbelief and admiration. A janitor and yet a diplomat, a linguist, perhaps even more. Incredible. He gestured to the others. "You will see. This human is unusual." Mark felt a strange mix of relief and tension. Relief that his secret talent was recognized. Tension because the night had changed, and he now stood on the edge of something much bigger than himself. Something dangerous, something rewarding, something that could reshape how humans were seen across the galaxy. He looked at his mop, the simple tool he had carried every night, and then at the glowing faces of aliens who now watched him with curiosity and respect. And he realized a simple truth. Sometimes the smallest person can make the biggest difference, and sometimes humans are far more capable than anyone believes. As he straightened his back and continued cleaning, Mark whispered to himself softly, "This is only the beginning." The night shift had brought more than just quiet and solitude. It had brought opportunity, a chance to show that even a simple dad could rise above expectations. And in the quiet corridors of the trade tower, the galaxy began to take notice. Mark moved forward, mop in hand, heart steady, mind sharp, ready for whatever came next. The unexpected talent of a human janitor had been revealed, and nothing would ever be the same. The next morning, the trade tower was alive with activity. Humans scurried in their uniforms, carrying datapads and cleaning carts, while aliens with luminous eyes and strange appendages moved purposefully through the corridors, issuing commands and monitoring operations. Mark, the single dad, and now unlikely hero, arrived for his night shift, mop in hand. He felt the weight of the previous night pressing on him. What he had done was no small feat, speaking fluent alien to a high-ranking executive, but today he would face something far more challenging. The tall executive, the one whose jaws had literally dropped when Mark first spoke, was waiting. His glowing eyes followed Mark with an intensity that made the janitor's hands sweat. "Human," he said, voice firm but not unkind. "You impressed me last night, but ability alone is not enough. Today, I will test you. Let us see if you can truly handle the responsibilities you claim to understand." Mark nodded, trying to keep calm. He had expected a normal cleaning shift, not a personal challenge from one of the galaxy's most powerful executives. "I'm ready," he said. His voice was steady, but inside his heart raced. The executive led him to a small room lined with holographic screens displaying alien trade routes, complex negotiations, and encrypted messages. Other humans rarely entered this room. Even many junior aliens hesitated at the doorway, intimidated by the technology and the sheer authority of the executive who now stood silently beside him. "Your first task," the executive said, gesturing to a glowing screen, "is to interpret this series of diplomatic messages. They are from a neighboring system. Misunderstand them, and the consequences could be disastrous. Tell me what they mean, and propose a solution to prevent conflict." Mark stared at the swirling alien symbols. To anyone else it would have been indecipherable, but his years of secret training, the memory of a patient alien neighbor teaching him when he was a boy, came alive. Slowly, methodically, he read the messages. His mind translated not just the words, but the intent behind them, the subtle pressure, the hidden threats, the offers disguised as demands. "They are testing for loyalty," Mark said aloud in flawless alien. "The system wants assurance that the supply lines will not favor one faction over another. They fear exploitation. We must propose a fair redistribution of resources and guarantee transparent tracking." The executive raised an eyebrow. Impressive. Next, he said, tapping another screen. A negotiation simulation. You will speak to the holographic representatives as though they are real. Handle their objections, respond to their strategies, and resolve the dispute. Mark felt a flicker of fear. Even seasoned diplomats struggled with this kind of simulation, but he straightened his back, recalling his daughter's words from that morning. "You can do this, Dad, you're amazing." That simple encouragement fueled him. He spoke first hesitantly, then with growing confidence. "We will adjust the trade quotas to satisfy both parties," he said in alien, "and implement a monitoring system that ensures fairness. Your concerns about bias are understood and addressed." The holographic representatives reacted immediately, simulating surprise, concern, and curiosity. Mark adapted to their objections on the fly, explaining policies, clarifying misunderstandings, and even calming simulated fears of sabotage. Every step he took reinforced his growing belief that humans were capable of far more than anyone gave them credit for. The executive watched in silence, his expression unreadable. "You understand not just the words but the culture," he said. Finally, "Few of my people would navigate these subtleties so smoothly. You are extraordinary." Mark's hands tightened around his mop handle, now leaning against the corner. He had expected recognition for language, perhaps, but this, the understanding of alien culture, the ability to negotiate in real time, was beyond anything he had imagined being tested for. "Your final challenge," the executive said, "is a scenario involving a live crisis. One of our trade ships has been stranded near a hostile system. You must coordinate its retrieval without escalating tensions or causing panic." Mark took a deep breath. He visualized the problem, breaking it into steps: communication with the ship, negotiation with the hostile system, coordination with allied ships, and keeping all stakeholders informed. Every movement of his mind translated to precise alien instructions. "We will send a neutral escort to guide the ship," he said confidently. "Notify the system of our intentions and ensure that all communication is transparent. The crew's safety is guaranteed without provoking hostility." Across the room, the holographic crisis unfolded, responding exactly as Mark anticipated. Every command he issued was executed, every problem resolved, until the simulation ended with success. The room was silent. Even the other executives who had been observing secretly seemed stunned. The tall executive approached him, a rare smile forming on his face. "Human, you have passed the test. You do not merely speak our language, you understand us, anticipate our needs, and act wisely. This is unprecedented, truly unprecedented." Mark felt a mixture of relief, pride, and disbelief. A janitor, a single father, had now shown that humans could do more than sweep floors, could think, solve, and lead. He remembered the nights of practice, the secret lessons, the sacrifices, and he realized that every moment of his life had prepared him for this. "Thank you," he said simply, bowing slightly. The executive nodded, eyes glowing faintly with admiration. "Do not thank me yet. This is only the beginning. The galaxy is about to notice what humans are capable of, and you, Mark, will play a part they never expected." Mark left the room with his mop, heart racing but mind clear. The corridors seemed different now, brighter, alive with potential. The night shift was no longer just a job. It was a stage, a proving ground, and Mark had passed the first test with flying colors. And in the quiet of the trade tower, he whispered to himself, "I can do this. I will show them." The next day, the trade tower hummed with the usual rhythm of business, but Mark felt a strange tension in the air. Rumors from the previous night had spread like wildfire. Humans whispered cautiously in corridors, and even the junior aliens stared with curious eyes. Today, something extraordinary awaited him. The tall executive, glowing faintly in the dim light, appeared in front of him. "Human," he said, voice firm but almost reverent. "Come with me. There is a boardroom meeting, high level. Your presence is requested." "No. Required." Mark blinked. A janitor in a boardroom? He glanced at his mop. It felt heavier than Usual. I'm just a cleaner, he muttered, but the executive shook his head. You are no longer just a cleaner. Last night proved that. Today you will prove it further, the executive said, guiding him down polished corridors filled with holographic screens showing galactic trade routes, diplomacy logs, and high-security monitoring. Mark entered the boardroom cautiously. It was enormous, with walls of glass revealing the cityscape beyond. Around the long table sat dozens of executives, alien dignitaries, and senior managers, all staring at him. Whispers rose and fell like waves, curiosity and doubt mixed in the air. The executive gestured toward a holoprojector displaying a complex trade scenario. Human, he said, you have seen simulations. Now this is real. One of our allied systems has reported irregularities in cargo distribution. Some shipments are missing and tensions are rising. Explain to us what happened and propose a solution. You may speak freely in your alien language. We want the truth. Mark's heart pounded. He had never addressed so many high-ranking officials at once. But he remembered the quiet lessons of his childhood, the hours of secret practice, the countless nights imagining conversations with aliens. He took a deep breath. He stepped forward and began speaking in fluent alien. His voice was steady, authoritative, yet humble. The missing shipments are not stolen. They were rerouted due to system errors in cargo logs. The delay caused confusion. If we reroute remaining shipments to balance the deficit and implement real-time monitoring, the Allied system will receive its supplies without further tension. Silence followed. Eyes widened, antennae twitched, and whispers turned into audible murmurs. The executive nodded subtly, encouraging him. One alien counselor, tall and armored, spoke next. Human, that is only theory. Can you handle the logistics? Can you coordinate ships, crews, and systems across 3-star sectors? Mark's mind raced. He imagined the routes, the schedules, the communication delays. He spoke clearly. Yes. Assign escorts for vulnerable ships, reroute non-critical cargo to secondary ports, notify all sectors of updated protocols. All errors will be corrected, and monitoring reports sent hourly. The Allied system will receive full accountability and confirmation. The counselor leaned back, stunned. Another executive whispered to a colleague, impossible, a human, managing logistics across 3 sectors, and accurate. Then the executive who had brought him here spoke. Human, propose a contingency, plan in case of hostile interference. We cannot risk conflict. Mark's eyes flicked to the holographic display. He visualized the hostile systems, potential obstacles, and escape routes. If any interference occurs, we will reroute critical shipments to secure locations, deploy neutral mediators, and open diplomatic channels immediately. Force is not needed if communication is clear and timely. A hush fell over the room. Alien executives who had doubted humans before now leaned forward, studying him intently. Every word he spoke was precise, every solution practical, every tone respectful but confident. Finally, the executive at the head of the table, an elder with glowing markings, spoke slowly. Mark, you have not only understood our language, you have understood our systems, our fears, and our priorities. I have never seen a human demonstrate such clarity and judgment. Mark swallowed, feeling a mix of pride and disbelief. A janitor, a single dad who mopped floors at night, was now recognized as a problem solver for the galaxy's most complex trade issues. Another counselor, who had been skeptical from the beginning, leaned forward and asked, can we rely on him for future negotiations? Will he continue to bridge our worlds? The executive nodded. Yes. Humans are capable of more than we imagined. This one shows the potential of his entire species. Mark quietly lowered his gaze, remembering the nights when he had worried about providing for his daughter, when he had thought he was just an ordinary man. Now he realized something extraordinary. Humans were underestimated, and he was proof. He left the boardroom with his mop still in hand, unnoticed by most. To him it was just a tool, but now it felt symbolic. Every step he took echoed with the possibility of what humans could achieve. The executive walked beside him. Prepare yourself, Mark. The galaxy has started noticing humans. Your role is only beginning. We will need your skills again very soon. Mark nodded, heart racing. He looked down the corridor bright with alien lights, imagining the challenges ahead. He had passed the first test, amazed the boardroom and shown that humans could rise above expectation. And as he pushed his mop through the quiet halls, he whispered to himself, if they thought this was impressive and they haven't seen anything yet. The morning after the boardroom incident, Mark returned to his usual night shift, mop in hand, blending in with the quiet hum of the trade tower. But the world around him had changed. Whispers followed him wherever he went, and even the cleaning. Staff seemed to watch him with new respect or curiosity. He kept his head down, pretending nothing had changed, but inside, he felt a thrill. Suddenly, the tall executive appeared at the corridor's end, his glow brighter than usual. Human, your skills are needed. Come with me, he said, voice low, urgent. Mark's mind raced. Another test? Another boardroom? Where? He asked cautiously. You will see, the executive replied, gesturing to a concealed elevator that hummed quietly. It was hidden from ordinary staff. The doors slid open, revealing a dark interior lit only by faint holographic symbols. Mark stepped inside, heart pounding. The elevator descended deep into the lower levels of the trade tower, far below the areas even most employees knew existed. The air grew cooler, denser. When the doors opened, Mark found himself in a secure operations hub, buzzing with quiet activity. Alien officers monitored screens showing distant star systems, trading vessels, and security feeds. You are being assigned a secret mission, the executive said. A critical trade convoy has been intercepted near a hostile system. Negotiators and military escorts cannot reach them in time. Only someone who can think like both human and alien can handle this. That someone is you. Mark froze. His mop felt heavy in his hands. Me? Alone? Yes, the executive said. You are the only one capable of understanding the subtleties of the situation. Your decisions will determine whether this convoy survives or becomes a political disaster. Mark swallowed hard but nodded. He had passed previous tests, but this was different. Real lives, real stakes, not simulations. A holographic table projected the convoy's route. Ships glimmered as points of light, some moving smoothly, others erratically. The hostile system's forces are near, the executive continued. They are testing for weaknesses. Any wrong move will be seen as aggression. Diplomacy must come first. Force may be last. Mark studied the display carefully. He needed a plan. His mind raced, recalling every negotiation, every problem-solving skill he had learned. First, communication. He would need to send a message that showed intent, but not fear. Second, coordination. He must guide the convoy with precise timing to avoid danger. Third, observation. Every movement of the enemy must be anticipated. He tapped the controls, sending a carefully worded message in fluent alien. We acknowledge your presence. Our convoy seeks safe passage. No harm is intended. Cooperation ensures mutual benefit. The monitors flickered. The enemy ships hesitated. The convoy's course corrected subtly, following Mark's instructions. Every minor adjustment required split-second decision-making, balancing speed, safety, and diplomacy. Minutes stretched like hours. Mark's pulse raced as he noticed a sudden anomaly, one cargo ship drifting off course, likely due to a damaged navigation system. The enemy forces were closing in, unaware that he had spotted it. Mark's hands moved quickly, issuing precise corrections, guiding the ship back onto the safe route. Human, extraordinary, muttered one alien officer, astonished at his rapid decisions. Suddenly, an alert appeared. A hostile craft had changed course, aiming directly at the convoy. Mark froze for a split second, then acted. He projected a calm but firm message in alien. Your presence is noticed. We offer collaboration, not conflict. Deviation may force defensive measures, but there is no desire for war. The hostile ship slowed. It hovered uncertainly, scanning, analyzing. Mark's heart pounded. He realized that his words, his understanding of alien communication, had prevented disaster. The convoy completed its course safely. Cheers erupted quietly in the operations hub, but Mark barely noticed. He exhaled slowly, relief washing over him. For the first time, he felt the weight of his abilities. He was no longer just a human cleaning floors. He was a protector, a negotiator, a bridge between worlds. The executive approached, eyes glowing with approval. "Mark, you have done what many highly trained officers could not. You understood the situation, acted decisively, and preserved peace. Your species is underestimated, but you have shown them what humans can do." Mark nodded quietly, a mixture of pride and exhaustion washing over him. He looked around at the officers, the monitors, the convoy now safely en route, and realized the truth. This was only the beginning. The galaxy was bigger than he had imagined, and the human potential within him was limitless. As he walked back to his mop, returning to the ordinary night shift he had known, he whispered to himself, "If I can do this, imagine what else humans could achieve." And in the shadows of the trade tower, unseen but recognized, Mark felt a spark ignite, a promise that humanity was not to be underestimated. Mark returned to the trade tower, mop in hand, as though nothing had changed. But everything had. He was no longer just a night shift janitor or a single dad struggling to make ends meet. He was a human who had spoken alien fluently, solved crises that could have ignited wars, and shown the galaxy what his species was capable of. The corridors seemed quieter now, but whispers followed him everywhere. He noticed alien workers pausing to glance at him with a mix of awe and respect. Some bowed slightly, subtle gestures of recognition. Mark smiled faintly, feeling a warmth he had never experienced before. The executive met him again, this time in the grand observation deck overlooking the city's glittering lights. "Human," he said, "you have done what no one thought possible. Your actions have prevented conflict, saved countless lives, and shown the galaxy that humans are more than they appear. But there is more to be done." Mark's heart raced. "More? What else?" The executive gestured to a holographic projection of star systems. "Other species are watching. They will test humans again. Some will seek conflict, some will doubt, and others will underestimate your kind. You have already created a ripple of respect, but now it is time to make a wave. You will train others, help humans understand alien languages, cultures, and negotiation. You will become a bridge for your species." Mark nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He thought of his daughter, asleep, at home, dreaming peacefully, unaware of the galaxy's eyes now on her father. He smiled, knowing he had shown her the value of courage and determination. Suddenly, an urgent alert appeared on a nearby console. A trade vessel from a distant sector was under attack by unknown forces. Mark's eyes narrowed. He had faced crises before, but now he realized something important. It was not just about solving problems. It was about inspiring confidence, showing that humans could act decisively, and proving that intelligence and empathy were as strong as any weapon. He activated his communicator. "Prepare the convoy for immediate rerouting. Alert allied fleets. Deploy protective measures. Monitor all systems and report any anomaly. I will handle communication with the attackers." The executive raised an eyebrow. "You do realize you are speaking to potential enemies, yes?" Mark smiled faintly. "Yes, and I will speak to them like I speak to friends, with understanding, clarity, and respect. That is how humans win trust." Moments later, Mark began transmitting messages in fluent alien. He explained that aggression would only worsen outcomes, while cooperation could lead to mutual benefit. He analyzed the enemy's behavior patterns, anticipating reactions, and adjusted his communication carefully. Within hours, the attack ceased. The convoy was safe, the attackers' motives understood, and potential conflict avoided. The executive watched in astonishment. Human, your ability to think, adapt, and act is extraordinary. This is what makes humans unstoppable, Xiu nodded quietly. He thought about every night spent mopping floors, every lonely moment, every struggle. It had all led to this. He had proven that even ordinary humans could achieve extraordinary feats with courage, intelligence, and empathy. Later, back at the trade tower, Mark met with alien officials to discuss protocols for human integration into interstellar operations. They listened carefully, often amazed at his insight. He suggested training programs, shared knowledge of human adaptability, and emphasized diplomacy over aggression. Each recommendation was practical, actionable, and demonstrated human ingenuity. Finally, the executive placed a hand on Mark's shoulder. You have left a legacy that will be remembered for generations. Humans are no longer underestimated. You have shown them why. You have proven that even one human, with determination and heart, can change the course of the galaxy. Mark looked out at the city lights reflecting on his journey. He thought about his daughter, the nights spent cleaning floors, and the countless challenges he had faced alone. He realized that being human was not about power, size, or authority. It was about courage, intelligence, empathy, and the ability to rise when others doubted you. As he pushed his mop one last time through the quiet halls, he whispered to himself, "This is just the beginning. Humans are not to be underestimated, and I will make sure the galaxy never forgets that." In that moment, Mark understood that his life had changed forever. He was no longer just a single dad or a janitor. He was a symbol, a proof that humanity, even in its simplest forms, could rise above expectation, challenge the impossible, and leave a legacy that would inspire countless others. And somewhere, in the distant stars, other humans would follow. Inspired by his actions, they would prove that in every corner of the galaxy, humanity was a force to be respected, feared, and admired. The night was quiet. The city lights reflected in the glass walls, and Mark, mop in hand, smiled, not for himself, but for humanity.